At community pharmacies following armed robbery attacks.
Beach lovers to present vaccination cards at entry points as RECSEC lifts ban on closure of beaches.
And nearly 2,000 tons of food aid stolen in Western Sudan. This is News Hour coming to you live from GBC News. Good evening, I'm Siyoko Kwakuche. Welcome to the news.
Good evening, I am Shirley and then Jonathan Intim Dako translates the news into sign language. To our first story, the Community Practice Pharmacists Association is calling on the Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Ekufudampare, to look into recent robbery attacks on community pharmacies in the country.
At a media briefing in Accra, the association said members are ready to work with the police to provide security to pharmacies to curb the attacks. It says the recent incident happened at Kumasi where the pharmacist was shot in the stomach.
The Community Practice Pharmacists Association is concerned about the spate of armed robbery attacks on pharmacies across the country. The recent attack at a community pharmacy in Kumasi brings to 15 the number of attacks recorded this year. It happened on December 21, 2021, when armed robbers stormed the pharmacy and shot the pharmacist on duty and absconded with huge sums of money and other valuables. The robbers also deflated the tires of the pharmacist, who managed to drive on flat tires to the hospital, where he is currently receiving treatment. While the association is calling on the law enforcement agency for intervention, the chairman of the Community Practice Pharmacists Association, Dr. Michael Ireland, advised all community pharmacists to be security conscious.
It is very important for any member of the public to ask of the pharmacist anytime you enter any community pharmacy in your community. It has come to the notice of the leadership of the Community Practice Pharmacists Association, CPPA, that a number of our community pharmacies and pharmacists have been attacked and robbed by armed robbers.
A victim who was attacked on 6 different occasions and CEO of Health Consultant Pharmacy, Mr. Michael Kofi, called on the police to help them keep the pharmacies safe.
If the police can help by patrolling around pharmacy shops in the night, because we are serving the community very well. We are the first point of call whenever someone is sick. I believe that we have served our community right, so if there is any protection to be given us, and all other pharmacies, I will entreat the police to do so.
The Community Practice Pharmacists Association, CPPA, is the largest group of the Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana, with a membership of about 3,500 across the country.
In August this year, as part of measures to tackle the country's ailing health system caused largely by the ravages of the coronavirus pandemic, President Akufo-Addo cut the support for the Agenda 111 project. The project entails the construction of 101 district hospitals, 6 regional hospitals, and an extra regional hospital for the Western region. 2 mental hospitals are also to be built in the middle and southern belts, while redeveloping the Accra Psychiatric Hospital. However, the Africa Center for Health Policy has cast doubt about the government's set target for completion of the project. The Executive Director, Mr. Ahmed Khan, spoke about delays in commencing the projects.
18 months is doable, but based on what we have found out, we don't think that we can be able to do that within the 18 months that was set. In fact, we are now 5 months into the 18 months, and the President did say that, in fact, it's not 18 months, but 12 months from the date of commencement of the project. We should have the completion of all of these projects. We're 5 months down 5 months into the project, and we have not seen any physical construction coming up. We have seen that portions of the lands have been cleared. People have taken custody or ownership of the lands. That's the contractors. But we have not seen them building the physical structures as in the hospital that were promised us. Speaking to the contractors specifically, it is about funding that is not being available. And I think that conceiving this idea, a nice idea, we should have at least gotten the financing straight or correct before we say we are launching such a thing. As of now, it seems that we do not have the funding readily available, and we are still searching for the funds, which is a coming forth. When you take Ghana, for instance, as a middle income or lower middle income status country, by 2022, donors are dwindling away. They think that we should be preparing ourselves to start financing most of the projects that we say we want to do. And so they are fizzling out. They don't really want to push a lot of money to Ghana again. And so it is putting pressure on the common Ghanaian. But we should have other or alternative ways of financing our healthcare finance infrastructure.
The Greater Accra Regional Security Council has, in consultation with the Ghana Health Service, lifted a ban on the operation of beaches in the region during the festivities. The new directive is issued on condition that operators ensure patrons show proof of vaccination at the beaches while enforcing the COVID-19 safety protocols.
At a stakeholders meeting last week, the Greater Accra Regional Coordinating Council announced the closure of beaches among other directives for the festive season as part of measures to curb the spread of COVID-19. However, upon further consultations with the Ghana Health Service, the RECSEC has reviewed the directive on the closure of beaches. Beaches can now operate on condition that patrons show proof of vaccinations whilst adhering to all the COVID-19 safety protocols.
Today, we have called for another meeting to review the decision that was taken on 24th December 2021. And at the close of the meeting today, it has been decided by RECSEC, jointly with the Ghana Health Service, that the operators of the various beaches along the coast in the Greater Accra region can go back and do business on condition that people who patronize the beaches should show proof of vaccination or will be vaccinated at the point of entry.
Some beach operators were happy with the new directive.
It's not about vaccination alone. If you vaccinate and you don't adhere to the protocols, you can still get the virus. So we are very grateful for the decision made today, and we thank the media for carrying out our cries when the first directives came out.
If you don't have it, we'll give you nose mask at the gate free of charge so that you can also put it on. In that, we can also curtail the spread of the disease. That is what we ask everybody to do.
As at December 22, 2021, Ghana had recorded 9,534 active cases of COVID-19, with a daily case count of 1,320. As the cases in the Omicron variant increases, the authorities are reviewing measures to curb the spread, especially for the festive season. On GTV's Breakfast, a clinical epidemiologist, Professor Fred Binka, called for collaboration between the Ghana Health Service and churches to ensure more people are vaccinated. He also asked the authorities to look out for persons who issue fake vaccination cards.
What I am suggesting is that we should get the pastors on our side. They should talk to their congregants, and let's have the vaccinators around the place so that people can get the vaccination, and offer them the opportunity to be vaccinated. And then they can go on the service. At least they've had the first dose. And then they can come on and get the second dose. We have had fake cards arriving at the Kotoka International Airport. People do this all the time, and we should notice that. In Ghana, the insurance companies have come a long way, and today when you are driving your car and the police stop you, they can check whether your insurance certificate is fake or is genuine. So the technology is there. So we need to put in more resources to make this appropriate. We cannot only stay at just having the thing written on the card. People can make those cards these days very easily. They can make those cards and they can sign on behalf of whoever is the authority and make sure they look as good as the ones that are not good enough. So what we need is to get these things into a database and make sure that instantly we can check them and be able to determine which ones are genuine and which ones are not. That technology is here in Ghana. There's no reason. The only thing that is stopping us is that we have not put in the resources to get that done. But
You're still watching it all live on GBC News, your news and governance channel. The University of Education Winneba has introduced Sisali language into its languages curriculum at the School of Languages at Ejumako in the Central Region this year. At an annual meeting of the Sisala Union at Tumu in the Upper West Region, the president of the union, Dr. Roger Canton, said by this initiative, the Sisali language will be examinable in colleges of education in a few years to come.
Sisali is one of the languages spoken in the Upper West region. Out of the 11 municipalities and districts in the region, 4 are Sisala dominated. They are Sisala East, Sisala West, Wa East and Lambusie. The language, however, is not among the Ghanaian languages being examined at the training colleges. Through the efforts of the Sisala Union, the Sisali language has now been introduced into the curriculum of the University of Education at Ejumako in the Central Region this year. At its annual general meeting at Tumu, President of the Sisala Union, Dr. Roger Canton, said Sisala students will perform better in the Ghanaian language exams.
Early this year, the University of Education Winneba have finally accepted and introduced Sisali into their academic curriculum under their School of Language at Ejumako in Central Region. We have the first batch of students, about 51, have been admitted, and we are hoping that in the next 2 or 3 years, our language will go through the major processes so that the West African Examinations Council, WAI, will introduce it so that our students can write the BEC.
Dr. Roger said the union has also ensured the establishment of the Sisala Rural Bank, the creation of the Sisala West District, introduction of a climate-smart agricultural innovations and promotion of peace among paramountcies in the Sisala traditional areas. Municipal and district directors of health and education made presentations on the provision of education and health in the Sisala areas.
The private sector will now play an essential role in sustainable waste management in the country. This follows a capacity building program in alternative urban waste management for some 17 stakeholders. The training is organized by the Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, Institute of Industrial Research, the United Nations Development Program, and the Ministry of Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation.
Getting the private sector involved in maintaining a clean environment has been identified as a key activity in facilitating the implementation of projects and programs that strengthen climate governance. This is what called for a training curriculum for the CSIR IIR to achieve capacity building through short-term training under its private investment mobilization training program. A consultant, Dr. Esel Ben Hagan, elaborated on the essence of the training.
The aim of the whole activity, which is to get the key contracting authorities in solid waste management, mainly the MMDAs, they will be better equipped, better in an understanding position to get more private sector investment. That's the whole idea.
The project leader for CSIR, Madame Adjoa Bentuma Enimpong, says There would be a center of excellence after the training, and this would be open to other stakeholders who are interested in being trained in alternative urban waste management, and this would cut across all the regions of the country. Officials were taken through some lessons on sustainable waste management. The 17 stakeholders were selected from the Association of Ghana Industries, Private Enterprise Federation, Environmental Protection Agencies, University of Ghana, Adenta Municipality, Lankwantanan Assembly, Tema West, and Ashaman Municipality.
The Chief Executive of the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, Mrs. Elizabeth Saki, has advised the public to guard against fire outbreaks this season, especially this summertime.
We all agree that we're getting into the Harmattan season. And during the Harmattan season, we know it's a dry weather. And so we should be very cautious of the lights that we project, and then whatever we do, especially with fire. We've heard a lot about bushfires and many others, but we still have to bear and have awareness that there's a need to be cautious when you're putting up a fire. When you put up the fire, except that you'll be around to quench it, then you can. But if not, and you don't have time to stand by and watch, do not lit it at all, so that you won't have any atrocity around the period. I also want to encourage everybody that this is a special period, and since we have dry wind, they're putting on of their gas cylinders and others matters. And gas cylinders are not kept indoor. They should be kept outside there. And then at least if there's a fence around it, that should be a wire gauze, so that when the wind blows, it can also carry the wind away, the gas away. That is helpful than putting it in an enclosed place where it can catch fire and then have the whole facility burn down.
Street children, the aged and vulnerable people along the Kwame Nkrumah Avenue, Ring Road Central and the environs in Accra have been feted and given free medical care. The gesture was to put a smile on their faces this Yuletide and for them to feel accepted and loved.
As part of the Christmas celebrations, members of the Believers on Fire International Ministry in Accra joined some street children, the aged and the vulnerable people along the Kwame Nkrumah and Ring Road Central roads to party. The church also collaborated with health personnel to screen the beneficiaries for various ailments and gave free medication to those who needed it. A team was also on hand to provide free COVID-19 testing and administer vaccines to interested persons. The beneficiaries also received free clothing. The General Overseer of Believers on Fire International Ministry, Bishop Lorraine Rejoice Lai, said this year, being the fourth year of engaging in such an exercise, the church targeted supporting about 2,000 people.
Help in any way you can if you are able to do so. And do it cheerfully. Don't do it because you feel you need to do it to let people know you're doing it. I believe in doing everything from the heart.
Under the church's program, Feeding the Multitude, the church earlier supported some prisons and psychiatric hospitals. Bishop Rejoice Lai advised all to continue to observe the safety protocols of COVID-19 even after vaccination to curb the spreading virus. In the spirit of giving, the head pastor of the Christ Apostolic Church at Cantonment in Accra, Reverend Anthony Atro, urged all to show love and care to the vulnerable in society. He explained that the demonstration of love towards members of society is the essence of Christianity.
Owners of Library Without Walls, a mobile library program, have organized the Reading and Arts Fun Fair for People's Arts Ikuapem Obosomase in the Eastern Region. The fair, organized in collaboration with the Jasehemia of Ikuapem Obosomase, Nana Abena Ubribia, was to instill reading habits in people, especially school children.
Over 600 pupils from the Obosomase town participated in the fair. They were taken through spelling bee, reading, coloring and artwork, among others. The founder of the Library Without Walls, Mr. Paul Mensah Amano, said the idea of designing the mobile library program is to help bridge the reading habits gap between pupils in the cities and those in rural and remote areas. The program is also to help facilitate government's efforts towards the attainment of the Sustainable Development Goal 4, which is about quality education. He gave the assurance that the program would not be a 9-day wonder.
We believe every child is an artist. Every child is also a reader. And once we are able to capture them at this age, once we are able to introduce the arts of reading and make them enjoy it, it will become a lifelong activity. They will be able to thrive when they are educated, when they are confident, and they are empowered to become better citizens for our country.
The Jasehemia of Ikuapem Obosomase, Nana Abena Obribia, urged parents to encourage their children to read to acquire knowledge and improve their communication ability.
Government is going to encourage the children to read, and also they're going to encourage their children to read. And I think it's going to help them, taught them in school, and when they're able to, they can understand anything that they're taught in the class. This is why I organize this program.
At the annual Samampede Festival celebrated by the chiefs and people of the Kusau traditional area in the Upper East region, the Minister for Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs, Mr. Ebenezer Kum, encouraged the people to respect the decision of the Supreme Court on the status of the paramount chief of the area. He said the judgment pronounced is binding on all residents of Boko.
The Samampede is celebrated by Kusasis in the Kuswan traditional area, formerly Boku traditional area, in the Upper East region to show appreciation to God for a bumper harvest. The overlord of the Kuswan traditional area, Zugran Naba Asibri Abuga Wasuka, emphasized the need for the perennial conflicts in the area to end for meaningful development. He asked the security agencies to ensure perpetrators of the violence in the area are brought to book. The spokesperson of the overlord, Mr. Patrick Adakugu, commended governments for initiating policies aimed at alleviating poverty among the people in the area and the country at large. He appealed to government through the Ministry of Education to introduce Kusau language in the colleges of education.
My special request is this for my people to go about their daily activities from which their families can take care of without let or hindrance.
The president of the Upper East Regional House of Chiefs, China Pio Pe Detinduni Adiali Ayagitam, said the recent clashes between the Kusasis and Mampusis in Boko is not chieftaincy related.
We cannot continue to countenance the activities of criminals and miscreants in political government. We in the Regional House of Chiefs wish to urge the security agencies to do the needful by identifying and arresting the perpetrators and bringing them to speedy position. In this way, we will be weeding out all undesirables in the conflict zone.
The Minister for Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs, Mr. Ebenezer Kum, said government will not interfere in chieftaincy and land issues.
When the Supreme Court of this country
pronounces on a dispute, there is finality to that dispute. Until and unless that decision has been varied or that decision binds every person in this country.
The Samampede Festival was on the theme promoting socio-economic and cultural development of Kuswang, the role of Kusal literacy and cultural tourism. The Kuswang traditional area consists of 25 divisions.
We have more news coming up. Please stay.
Good evening and welcome. Time now for the business segment, brought to you by MTN and Whirlpool. I am Dorothy Ajamai. Experts report of a surge in enrollment into technical and vocational institutions in Ghana as the negative perception surrounding this kind of education changes gradually. They also attribute the quadruplication of enrollments to the extension of free SHS to technical schools.
This is West Africa's first ever technical vocational training institute, the Aswanse Vocational Technical Training Institute, established in 1917. It turned some 100 years in 2017 with a student population of 2,472 and counting. Now, authorities tell me that ever since the free SHS policy was introduced, enrollment keeps increasing. They see even more of the girls developing interest in technical education. What remains now is training materials so that the students are able to have a practical feel of what they have learned. That is the only way, they say, that the country can derive the maximum benefits from technical and vocational training.
So you are aware that government has introduced free education, which TVET is part of. So that has really quadrupled the enrollment across the secondary level education, and of course TVET is also part of it. Yeah, so tremendously the enrollment has improved because people were ready to go to school, but because of one or two challenges, maybe financial, but with this government support of free education, it has really quadrupled the enrollment across the secondary level space, and of course also technical and vocational education and training. Right. Perception is really eroding. Of course, as a commission for TVET, we have been running a number of interventions through guidance and counseling for junior high school to inform them about opportunities that lie ahead of them with TVET, the employment opportunities therein, right? So having this understanding is making people to think twice and to really opt for TVET education, because we know TVET provides you the skills for employment. And if students appreciate this from the junior high school, it's really directing them to really now focus their attention to furthering education in TVET.
My father and all my family members supported me that it is good to do this. And anything that I need, they support me because of this course.
It has increased tremendously. Last year, for instance, they gave us 1,069 formats. Hitherto, it was very low, around 700. So it increased. Though we don't have the facilities, and because some masters have to vacate their bungalows to house some of the girls who were brought.
Mobile phone networks make secret deductions from their subscribers' airtime or credit for services the customer may not need or has not approved of. For instance, a subscriber is charged for romantic tips or games he or she may not be interested in. From time to time, you get notifications from your network provider on such subscriptions. Investigations by Mr. Samuel Dowona, the managing editor of Tech GH24, shows that most Ghanaians are secretly paying subscriptions they never consented to. Mr. Dowona made the revelation on GBT News business program Market Avenue. It was on his campaign dubbed Stop the Airtime Loot.
Because the law said that if you violate an individual's right in terms of not seeking their consent and going through the proper processes, you are liable to a fine of 5,000 penalty units. One penalty unit is 12 cedis. Wow. So times 5,000, 60,000 per person. So if think about how many people they are doing this to. We are even illiterate too. Yes. Look at what they are doing to us. Think about the people in the villages who are not even aware of this thing. Think about it. MTN has got 25 million customers. Even if they are doing it to 10%, that's 2.5 million. Money. Calculate and see. So if NCA is able to catch all these things, this people will find billions of Ghana cedis, and it will teach somebody a lesson. They will stop this criminality they are doing. Wow! It will stop this crime. So that is where the campaign is going. We are going to make sure that NCA does what they have to do. We have paid for an interconnect clearinghouse. You have to know that vast traffic is interconnected because it is moving from one network to another. Yes. So it's interconnect. Why can't you let this traffic pass through the interconnect clearinghouse? Let them do all the protocol checks and say that before, to make sure that somebody actually subscribe to it.
You're still watching the business segment of News Hour. Gold is on course to record its worst performance in 6 years as prices dropped on Thursday, pressured by a higher dollar. U.S. gold futures fell 0.5% to $1,797. Gold prices hit a one-month high on Tuesday but slipped to a one-week low the very next session before closing unchanged. This placed gold on a track for the biggest annual percentage decline since 2015. Experts say the first week of January will provide directional clues as gold is caught between the magnitude of inflation and the U.S. Federal Reserve steps to contain it. The dollar index recovered from near a one-month low, weighing on gold demand by making it less appealing for holders of other currencies. Let's have the performance of the local currency from the interbank market and the prices of gold, cocoa and light crude from the commodity board. And that's it for the business segment, proudly brought to you by MTN and Whirlpool. The news continues after this break. Please do stay.